Hello, my name is Joanne, and I'm a lifelong spiritual intuitive who is here on social media to talk about some of the spiritual knowledge and wisdom that I've gained during my lifetime. And I've mentioned before on previous videos and posts that I'm also the author of the Book of Love. And the Book of Love is a book that's a compilation of over 200 channelings from Mary Magdalene in the years 2021 to 2025. And in this book, Mary Magdalene talks about the truth of your soul and the power of love. My purpose in being here on earth, I've taken many years to figure it out, is first of all to create peace on earth. And that aspect of the mission I knew about my entire life ever since I was little. Like many people who are watching this video, you have always felt different. You didn't feel as though you fit into the world because you are different. Okay? The world that we live in, planet Earth, consists of both light and dark. It's a three-dimensional planet that has what's called duality. It has a light side and a dark side. And I have memories of being in places other than Earth where there was only light. And everything was beautiful, and every being there was happy. And when I was little and I saw the way people acted around me, whether it was in school or out places, I would see things on TV where people were really angry and they would hurt one another and they would be so mean and jealous. It just never made sense to me. And I always had the feeling things were supposed to be different here, that things were supposed to be more like this beautiful place of light I remember being in. And another thing too is I always had Mother Mary as my guide with me, and I could feel her unconditional love. And since I was little, like many children, I could see into the spirit world. I could see ghosts and angels and light beings and fairies. When I looked out into my room, it was filled with all this beautiful colored light, and everything was like vibrating and flowing and really, really beautiful. And as I got older, I kind of lost some of the beautiful vibrations of colors that I saw, but I always kept my crown open. The connection we have to the Creator is from our crown chakra, the top part of our head. I always kept that open and had visions throughout my life. So I would laugh every time someone would open up to me. And you know, I'm an empath, and like many empaths, people just feel very comfortable sharing their story with you. And people would say, Joanne, you're not going to believe it, but this happened to me. And they would talk about a spiritual experience. And I would laugh because if they thought I wasn't going to believe it, they really don't know who I am, because throughout my life I've had so many different visions and visitations and just beautiful spiritual experiences. And also I've seen a lot of the dark side too. So after all these years of having these experiences, I came to the conclusion that planet Earth, the planet of duality, is really supposed to be a garden paradise. When I was in college, I was a biology major, and I took a genetics class and had a lot of DNA stuff in my other biology classes too. And I found the information fascinating. And then after I received my bachelor's, when I had my awakening, there were a group of souls came to me, and I talked about this in another video, that I took a creative writing class in college when I was getting my master's, and I would go out and write and just sit by water. And I started writing what was my homework assignment. And then when I read what I wrote, I was perplexed because it had all this ancient wisdom and knowledge, including information on junk DNA. And I talked about this again in another video where I said this was in the early 1990s, and I never heard of junk DNA before. I know it's a fairly common term in spiritual teachings, that it's the DNA. When I was taking genetics classes and other biology classes, they said has a non-functioning component to it. It's just there, which really doesn't make sense in the way that nature works and the human body works. There's a purpose to everything. It seems like it's a waste of space just to have all these DNA codes and they have no function. But it turns out that this component of DNA that scientists term junk is our spiritual DNA. And I would get all this information about how our spiritual DNA is beginning to open, and it was opening in me. And I had these beings, they were light beings, but they called themselves the light seeds, and they went in and they started cleaning my DNA, taking out segments that were putting there that would slow down my spiritual progression. And then they cleaned it up so that my junk DNA started to get activated. So the way I looked at this is it's like opening Christmas presents early, that during my awakening in the early 1990s, when I was in my mid-20s, I gained all this spiritual wisdom and knowledge that was inside my DNA. My DNA opened so that I got the knowledge. So it was like my DNA was harmonizing with my open crown chakra to play the music of the universe, the music of the cosmos, where I got information from. So I learned this really, really cool information about everything's music. Everything has a harmonic to it, a sound, a frequency. And what happens is when we incarnate on Earth into our human bodies as babies, our souls get put inside this human body, and the harmonics, or these high frequency vibrations of love, peace, joy from the heavens, get compressed inside our human body. And then the matrix system of 3D is constantly sending us these lower frequency harmonics to let us forget who we are, to let us forget the power of the souls. So my purpose here, to help create peace on Earth, is to help others open these sacred DNA segments inside of them, or codes, to harmonize them to the love and light of their souls. And I do it in the way, it reminds me of Harry Potter, when he got all those invitations inside. The owls kept bringing him all the invitations into his house to invite him to the place where he learned that he's a wizard. And a similar thing happened to me. In my early 20s, I kept hearing, Joanne, you're a light worker, Joanne, you're a light worker. And I kept hearing the word light worker over and over again. And then in my mid-20s, I got the invitation by my team of light beings, angels, physicists, a group called themselves the physicists, and they taught me about quantum physics, like basic ideas of energy. And there were many others. And they sent me the invitation to open up the music of my soul, the harmonics and frequencies of my soul while I'm on 3D Earth. And they did this in order that I could later in life, and it's later in life now, send these harmonics out to others to invite them to open up to the love and light of their souls too. And the way I do it is in a similar fashion, sending out an invitation. Do you want to open up to the love and light of your soul? And if you do, you just accept the invitation. And it's just a frequency that's a little key that helps you to open up the love and light of your soul, or a reminder for you to remember who you are. But there's no power exchange here. I don't want to take power from anyone. I don't want to give away my power. I just want to send out a little note, a little harmonic to help you remember who you are. It really is that simple in principle. However, the 3D world complicates things in that, as I said, it sends out all these counter energies, these lower frequency vibrations into your energy field to try to prevent you from opening up your junk DNA, your sacred DNA. However, we can easily rise above it. The more we live from love, the love and light of our souls, the more we're living from the power of who we truly are, souls that inhabit a human body, and the more we can rise above the limitations of the matrix that try to keep us stuck there. It's like in The Wizard of Oz, one of my favorite movies, at the end, where Glinda says to Dorothy, you've had the power all along. We've had the power all along, but we really didn't believe it until we saw it for ourselves. So I think humanity, or I should say, I know humanity is at a very critical turning point at this time, where we're starting to truly recognize that we are the ones who hold the power. And Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the whole idea of dark energies. So there's light, there's darks, there's angels, there are things that are the opposite of angels. And I've communicated with both. And it's really interesting because I had dreams. I remember waking up one day and I remember being in this place with other light workers. And it was like an intake center. And there were lines of these dark energies who were waiting in line to revoke their contract for working for their dark boss because they didn't want to do darkness anymore. And if you kind of think about it, right? All right, what kind of boss is Satan? I'm laughing because, like, where are your vacation days? Where are your times off? What do you do all the time? You scare the bejesus out of children. You frighten people. You drag people down. You do these horrible things. You sit in people's energy fields and work through them to try to destroy other people. And you'd imagine that's not going to be fun after a while, right? So in this intake center, there were a whole line of these dark energies there, and they wanted to change. I worked with other light workers, again, to revoke their contracts of working for the dark, because all of these contracts are based on lies that the dark ones can't really promise what they say can happen to them because they're all illusionary, they're all in the dark. And then once the contracts were revoked in these dark beings, I remember it's like turning up a pilot switch very gently for the light and love of their souls, for them to be able to activate it and for them to be able to feel it. Remember also, there is a reality in dreams. They're not just these fictitious places. We actually do travel in our dreams. And I remember in this dream, in this place, after turning up the light in these dark beings, some of them were so grateful to feel love that they've never felt before, that they too helped me out in times of difficulty because they're so grateful for having to feel love again. And so it is true that when we live from our souls, from the love and light of who we are, the Christ love and light, and Christ is light. Christ light, they kind of sound alike. Take all the religious ideas away, and it's purified soul energy, pure consciousness of source, the Christ light that comes through our bodies, that radiates out from our heart centers, that is such purified love and light. And when we live from our purified love and light, Christ light, we have so much power. But it is the power of love. And this is an opposite way of looking at power from 3D. Power in 3D is control, domination, getting to the top of the ladder by crushing other people. I want to just throw that concept away, right? The true meaning of power is living from who we are, the love and light of our souls. And in this love and light, we are all equals. We're uniquely beautiful. We're unique, but we're equals in that there's no one better than another. There's no one greater than another soul. We all recognize the love and light in each other, and we honor it. And this is the way we are supposed to be, to live more from our souls than from our ego. The flip is now occurring on planet Earth, where more and more people are awakening to their souls, more and more people are awakening to the love and light of who they truly are, just the beautiful, grandiose love, resplendence of their Christ love and light. And when we live from love, that's how we manifest truly what our hearts desires. We manifest it from the love in our hearts. And we can create a beautiful life for ourselves, a beautiful life for our families, a beautiful life for our human family when we live from love. And when we live from love, we can then create peace on earth, as the energy of love is a prerequisite to peace. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you again. Thank you.